Hey there, business owners, directors, and marketers. In today's show, I'm meeting with Patrick from Proposify, and I'm very, happy to tell you a little bit more about him. He's the CMO of Proposify. I think a tool that many of you guys have heard about already, at least if you're, having a sales team that is sending out some, strong proposals. And he's 100% growth focused, and we're going to learn much more about that, what that means in his eyes. So he basically likes to get his hand dirty, digging deep into the data, learning about customer behavior and how to use that for business growth. And I'm very happy that he's excited to share some insights from analyzing over 1.6 million proposals that have been sent out. I think it's going to be very helpful to a lot of you guys listening in, and how you can use that information to scale your sales and hit your growth targets. So Patrick, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Lucas.
Yeah, tell us about Proposify a little bit in your words. What is it all about?
Absolutely. Proposify started about 7 or 8 years ago at this point, and our co-founders were running a business themselves. They were doing sales, sending out proposals, and it sucked. No one really loves doing proposals. It takes a lot of time. You never know where content is. You're probably doing it on the evening or the weekends because you have a million other things to do. Whether you're running a sales team, you're a sales rep yourself, those things just take a lot of time. So there's got to be a better way to do this. So that's what they dedicated themselves to over the past few years, is making it so you can streamline your proposal process, get proposals out faster, but also make sure that they're beautiful documents, that they're very impressive, that it puts your best foot forward as a business, so you really impress your clients when you put that really important document in front of them. That is usually one of the last things that they see before they make a decision as to whether they work with you. We feel that not enough focus really goes into that part of the marketing or sales funnel. We put a ton of effort into our top of funnel, our acquisition, our landing pages, that sort of thing. And as you get down closer to that point of purchase, and some sales organizations, things start to fall apart from an organizational perspective. And we're trying to make sure that it's as easy as possible for your sales reps to send out those proposals.
Makes complete sense. So who would be the people that are benefiting most from using Proposify?
Absolutely. I'd say the ones that are getting the most value out of us right now are sales teams with multiple sales members who have identified that there's an issue with sending out proposals, maybe with a mistake in them. Some with a marketer might look at a proposal and cringe a little bit, say, oh, did the salesperson really send that out? That doesn't really represent our brand, or there's an old product description in there. So there's a lot of versions of documents either living on people's desktops, living in different servers. You never really know where the most up-to-date version of something is. And that causes a lot of confusion and a lot of wasted time on the sales rep's perspective, a lot of copy and pasting things together. So if you have multiple sales reps that are spending too much time, too much manual work getting those proposals out, and issues with maybe brand consistency or errors, those are the teams that are getting the most value now by streamlining that, getting proposals out within minutes instead of hours or days. Teams that are able to get off a sales call and say, yeah, I'll get you that contract right now, as opposed to I'll get it to you by the end of the week or next Friday or something along those lines. Those companies who are taking too much time, their competitor might swoop in, get a contract signed before they even get the proposal out to their
Makes complete sense. I'm actually curious because this topic of proposals not being sort of supportive in the sales and very often holding it back. I've heard about it in the terms of I think it's called the Death Valley or something like this, where you're sending it out and you're waiting of somebody to respond. What have you guys been learning about that? What is really important? Maybe 2 or 3 things that you can share from your experience. What makes a proposal a strong proposal that you can be at least saying, okay, it's not because of the proposal that we send out that it's not progressing?
Absolutely. There are a couple different things. So we analyzed our database, we anonymized everything, and then got our data scientists to work to dig into what are the trends of winning proposals, what do they really look like? And there were a few things that definitely stood out. One is the length of your proposals. This is different by different industries, but in general, a little bit shorter is better. We saw that the average was 11 pages, which isn't super short, but it's not a 30-page, 40-page document that's trying to educate and train everyone on every little bit. No one's really going to read that. They're going to skip right to the pricing almost exclusively. And so our analytics will let you know how long someone's looking at the proposal, what sections that they were looking at. And I think most people will find that They're going to skip over your fluffy material and go right to the hardcore. What's the number? What am I going to pay? And you can take that information and learn from it and optimize your proposals just like you might optimize a web page, landing page, shrink things down. If no one ever reads your about us, maybe you don't need that. Maybe you can shrink your proposals down from a little bit. That's just one thing. The other thing we know is that time kills all deals. So that the faster you can get your proposal out to your customer, the better. It's actually really impressive how fast our customers can get proposals out and how quickly that their customers are actually looking at it. I think the average viewer proposal that's sent is open within the first few minutes. And then of winning proposals, they're actually usually signed off within, I think it's about 11 minutes after opening that. So winning proposals, there's usually not a lot of question about them. There's not a lot of back and forth. The content was right, the pricing was right, they've learned from their past experiences, and there was no issues back and forth trying to figure out what does this mean or negotiation. There's a really interesting point that the more that a proposal is viewed, the less likely you are to win that deal. It's a little bit counterintuitive. You think, oh, this person's really excited about this proposal. They've opened it 5 times. The reason that they had to open it and look at it 5 times is because they're not sure about something, or they had to ask someone else a question or share it around a bunch of times. Yep. The average winning proposal is only opened 2.5 times. So they're making that decision really, really quickly. So you can learn a lot from the analytics of a proposal and just know what goes into one that's winning.
Awesome. That's very cool. Very good. Thanks for sharing those insights from your sort of, product hands-on knowledge there. I'm curious. You mentioned, it's primarily for sales teams that are using it, obviously. You as a marketer, since you're running marketing for Proposify, how do you see people discovering, identifying and deciding to go with Proposify? What would be a journey, or what would be the channels that people, come through to your platform?
Absolutely. Great question. What we find is that pain point usually happens when someone is already experiencing it, trying to send out a proposal themselves. Mm-hmm. So they might not know exactly what their problem is, but deep down there's something about this process that they don't really like. So like many problems people try to solve out there, they're going to go to Google and search for how to solve that problem. So we create a lot of content around how to create the best proposals, try and find them that way. We create proposal templates for various industries so that if someone's looking for a quicker win from the various industry, then they would find us, and those templates are integrated right into our software. Mm-hmm. As well as just if someone identifies that there might be a software solution for this, just looking for this type of software in general, we want to make sure that we're showing up organically. Mm-hmm. But another great way is software integrations with CRMs. Most established sales teams probably using a CRM like Salesforce or like HubSpot, Pipedrive, those sorts of things, and they're looking for their sales teams to live within that environment. So we spend a lot of time on dedicating integrations with these CRM platforms. So that if you're looking at a solution to keep your source of truth within your CRM, but you want to integrate that with your sales documents as much as possible. So Proposify is completely dedicated to integrating with those CRMs as well.
Gotcha. Very cool. Yeah, I can actually attest to this. We were searching it for Pathmog a while ago, and then it's like really how quick can you get a good experience of putting a proposal together? That's very decisive, at least in our case. Very cool. One thing that came out in the last couple of interviews specifically is the conversation about the different call to actions on the page. And what I think is really interesting, obviously your tool lends it to be, a tool to go ahead, trying it, creating a couple of proposals.
Yep.
On the website, though, you have sign up for free, and you have also the possibility to set up a demo. How are you thinking about that from your sort of marketing standpoint?
Absolutely. I think a lot of companies, especially SaaS companies that have that free trial model or a freemium model mixed with a sales team. So we do have an internal sales team, as well as that kind of a 14-day free trial, no credit card required sort of a business model. And it's a difficult thing to manage. If you ask the sales team, they'd say, change all the calls to action to book a demo. We don't want those trial people anymore. We want to handhold them through the experience, which I totally get. But in our case, we've got lots of great customers that also want to just not talk to anyone and try it and tinker with themselves. So we've been experimenting with a little bit of personalization on that aspect. So using tools like Clearbit as a data source in order to change certain calls to actions, whether someone falls into a certain persona group or not. It's pretty new. It's pretty new for us, but that's kind of a middle ground between, yeah, we don't want to necessarily redesign the entire site for every single visitor, but for some, maybe it does make sense to push them down a different path.
Any early results to share from the Clearbit experiments? I think that's something like, I've seen a lot of conversations now going in this direction. Like, how do you get, the right data to qualify them and then offer the right call to action? How has it been working for you guys?
Yeah, I think you have to accept right off the bat that it's never going to be perfect, these sorts of things, but it should be a happy medium. So we have had some good results now. We're probably not even through our entire average sales cycle right now since we even implemented this test to see what the revenue bump would be. But the good news is that our sales reps right now their pipeline is full, and we're hiring more account reps for that particular reasons. It makes me feel great from a marketing perspective. So it's moving the needle from that perspective in terms of building our sales team's pipeline, which is really exciting.
Very cool. Is there anything else that you do on the page in order to sort of further qualify people? Because I think it's an very interesting topic currently.
Absolutely. We've experimented a lot. We do a lot of paid retargeting and advertising, and I like to use certain pieces of content as self-qualification. If you write a piece of content and it's very specific, so this content is for CEOs who do this and this sort of scenario, anyone who's engaging with that piece of content, they've basically raised their hand and said, yeah, I'm a CEO who does this. Anyone else is just going to bounce off that page and say, oh, this isn't really for me. So you have to write very, very targeted content. But once you do that and you can confirm that someone's engaged with that, you can semi-bucket them and make an assumption that they are that type of a persona, and then retarget appropriately, and then push them towards the thing that you want them to do. So we've seen some success from that.
Gotcha. Last question on that topic of qualification. Anything else that you're trying to achieve there at the moment? Already sort of the next experience or experiment inside?
Yeah, we're just starting to do some more personalization when it comes to industry verticals. We're lucky as a software that we have customers across SaaS companies, construction companies, legal finance, event services, advertising. A lot of people send out proposals. They might call them agreements or contracts. At the end of the day, it's the same sort of thing. It's got a digital signature built into it. That's a luxury that we have to be able to hit these different industry verticals. But we want to be able to make sure that we can definitely provide the best service to ones that make the most sense for us. We're trying to personalize our site to a little bit and learn more about the industries that are having extra success with our problem, even better than everyone else, and see how we can continue to help them and send them the right messages.
Makes sense. The flip side usually to those personalization efforts is then, I guess, the goal to increase conversions. How are you thinking about that? Like in terms of being able to increase the amount of people that are starting and using Proposify?
Yeah, absolutely. It's once we get those things in place, we set up kind of a measurement funnel to make sure that the conversion rate does go in the right direction. What I'm excited for is to follow them through the entire marketing, sales, and customer success funnel. So which of these industries can we acquire effectively from a cost per acquisition? Which ones actually pick up the phone and talk to our sales reps? How long are their sales cycles? What's the average contract value, obviously, of those types of industries, but then which ones get onboarded the best? Does it take 5 calls from our success team in order to onboard them, or does it take 1 or 2? And then long term, what's looking at expansion revenue and retention from those perspectives. I'm really excited to be able to dig in through that entire revenue funnel, basically, and be able to identify which are the best fits, because there might be a vertical that's really expensive to acquire, but they're with us forever. They love us. So I'm willing to spend more from a marketing perspective on that industry vertical. And I also don't want to be marketing to customers that maybe churn out a little bit faster than other ones. So looking at that holistic picture.
Makes sense. And how are you tracking this? Like, can you give us an insight into sort of your tracking stack?
Yeah,
we actually be able to do that all the way through?
It's pretty great. We have a great team of analytical marketers and technical marketers and data people. So we use Segment to kind of track data across user behavior across our marketing site. We use Marketo for marketing automation, Salesforce. So they're pretty robust revenue stack tools, if you call it from that perspective. So we have a pretty good view of our customer base overall, and like any company, can be improved. So we're working on better dashboarding for ourselves and making sure that that's as cohesive as possible. But yeah, that takes a lot to manage, to be able to actually say that you can do those things. It's a lot easier to say them than actually do it in practice. But we've got a great team that helps us do that.
Makes complete sense. Maybe one last question on the sort of topic of growth in general. What is maybe something that you learned when it comes to increasing the conversions on the page? Is there something, maybe a war story that you have to share, maybe a hard nut that you had to crack in order to, get some uplift in those types of metrics like conversion rate?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be perfectly honest. A lot of the conversion rate optimization we actually do has been on our free trial. So it's the path that they take once they start using that free trial, and it's getting them to the aha moment in terms of SaaS from that perspective. So we've dug a lot into kind of reverse engineering who's successful and what have they done, and trying to move them down. What's the next best action for them to take? So for us, in terms of the analytics that you can get from a proposal, it's really nice to, when you get that aha moment of someone viewing the metrics, that someone opened your proposal, someone's looking at it, how long they looked at it. So we want to make sure that those insights are provided as quick as possible. When it comes to marketing site things, we're not too much different from a lot of other companies. We'll test headlines, test different versions of copy, and I'm actually looking to get a little bit more robust in that area moving forward. We've been pretty lucky that we have healthy traffic and healthy conversion rates from what I feel, but there's always that room for improvement.
Gotcha. Very good. Very, very interesting. Yeah. So I want to switch gears a little bit, because we talked a lot about, how you're sort of doing your work operationally. What I'm curious about is you as a marketer, as a person. How would you describe your goal in your role? Like, is it a certain metric? Is it, a vision that you're following? If you would have to describe your goal, how would that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of things that fall into that, and it's evolved over time. When I first started at Proposify, we didn't have a sales team at all. We were 100% a self-service business. So a lot of it was, focused in on customer acquisition and activation within those free trials. But it's definitely evolved from there in terms of seeing the bigger picture of how we can help our customers. And building a team of educated, great people. I think as a leader with an organization, I've say this a number of times, you're always trying to work yourself out of a job. So I came in and at a company when it's smaller and you wear many, many hats, and then you have to hire yourself out of those jobs. So you're doing SEO, you're doing the paid advertising, you're doing the funnel building, and then as a company scales and grows, you can't rely on one person to do that. So finding the right talent and be able to find people that love doing their job is a big part of a marketer, and making sure that they understand the benefits that Proposify can provide to the customers, and telling that journey and that story is always important as a CMO, so to speak, in any type of company.
That makes sense. And how do you educate yourself then in order to be able to sort of, push the team towards those goals that you were just describing? Is there certain platforms, certain people, certain mediums that you're sort of, leveraging in order to educate yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I take full advantage of other people's content marketing. I probably fall into a ton of people's funnels. Maybe I'm not always qualified for everything, but there's a flip side. Sometimes you download a white paper, an ebook, and it's just a 1-page, 2-page thing. You're like, oh, this wasn't really worth it. But every once in a while, you get some valuable content. So I'm looking at the other leaders in the space, in other SaaS companies, and I think I can see it getting better. People really understand to put value into that sort of content. And just absorb that as much as possible. So I'm following LinkedIn profiles. Organic reach on LinkedIn has seemed to have changed over the last 6 to 12 months, and people are really starting to be able to build a brand both in the sales and the marketing space. Gotcha. And I try and keep my ears open. There's probably not a lot of one person in particular I could pull out right now, but I'd say just keeping your eyes and your ears open, and being able to identify, oh, that's new and that's different, and then trying to disseminate that to your team to make sure that everyone on the team is looking for something new all the time.
Gotcha. So it might not be a person, but what would be a topic that you researched recently where you really, dig deep into and to get some insights?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say there's a lot of content in the last 3 to 6 months on product-led growth. It's a huge keyword. It kind of blew up. The people, I'll give a shout out to the teams at AppQs. They're doing a really great job. I think they're awesome. And I've seen that now there are product-led growth conferences coming out. There are product-led growth podcasts and everything. It's if you're late 2019, 2020, I think is going to be remembered as like product-led growth being a key term that is coming out there. Just like conversational marketing with Drift was a huge new term that they coined in probably 2018, 2019 when that started to blow up, and product-led growth is probably the 2019, 2020.
Very good. So we're nearly approaching the end of the interview. What is left is our famous rapid fire questions. Are you ready for those?
I'm excited.
Very good. So for your company, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when I say the word marketing operations?
Talented.
What comes to mind when I say sales operations?
Oh. Exciting growth.
What is the one single thing that you're focusing on the most at the moment?
Hiring.
If there would be no boundaries in technology, what would be the one thing that you would want to have fixed today for the company?
I don't think it'll ever be fixed, but marketing attribution.
Mm-hmm. What's the last thing that kept you awake at night about the company?
Last thing that kept me up at night about the company. I want to make sure that everything that's going good continues to go good.
Okay, so maintaining, very good. Yeah. And the very last question, if you would step today, the first day into Proposify's office, taking on your role, what would be one advice that you would give yourself?
Delegate and inspire teams.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Patrick. This has been, I think, a super interesting episode where you gave us an insight into how you're thinking about marketing at Proposify and also how you personally educate yourself and have been growing within the role. So thanks a lot for taking time today.
Thanks, Lucas. Appreciate it.